Thank you. Thank you so much. So I will speak just a few words. And if you don't mind later, if you could read the questions again.
I will do that, Rinpoche.
And I think so that some people who may not have the questions can have some clue, about discussion. Anyway, let me begin with offering my joy for being able to do this. When we talk about healing, I think it's important also to know about what do we mean by ailment. And ailment fundamentally is some kind of a disorder. I guess a lot of people, when we talk about ailment, we are talking about a disorder of physical body. But as a Buddhist, in fact, body is almost like secondary. Mind is primary. So dealing with a, how should I put it, disorder of mind is perhaps paramount and crucial. So subsequently, when we talk about healing, I guess we need to talk about restoration. And again, here, we are not talking about just the restoration of the physical disorder, but restoration of mental factors. And I think this is where Buddhism can really offer vast and deep and infinite, and I would actually say very progressive views and actually applications, how one can restore the disorder or the ailment of mind. But I want to tell you a very small story. I mean, I should not really call it a story, an event, I guess, an account. When Palden Atisha was in Tibet, and it is believed that Atisha Dipamkara often suffers with headache. And he has one of his most important disciple, the closest student, is Dromtempa. And Atisha would ask Dromtempa to just place Dromtempa's hand, even though Dromtempa was not a masu or a healer as we know, like a doctor or anything. Atisha would always ask Dromtempa to touch Atisha's hand or head. And other students asked Atisha one day, why Atisha always, look for Dromtempa whenever he has this problem, physical problem, instead of going to proper, like healer or medicine man, doctors. Atisha's reply was, Dromtempa is one of the kindest person he has encountered in his life. I don't know whether you, any of you know about Atisha and his veneration to veneration to kindness. Again, this story leads to another story. Atisha was a very, very learned scholar and Mahasiddha, or a saint. And he had a lot of gurus himself. He had a lot of teachers that he has learned from. And when he was in Tibet, many times he would recite, sometimes he would quote his teachers' teachings. And every time he recite or he quote or he recalled the name of Serlingpa, I believe in Sanskrit, his name is Dharmakirti. Serlingpa, today, I would, in today's world mapping, I guess, Serlingpa is from Indonesia, Surabaya. And every time Atisha Dipamkara mentioned Jo Serlingpa's name, he would fold his palms together and put it over his head, and he would have tears in his eyes. But all the other gurus, he would just fold his palms together, that's all. So again, the students asked him, why you sort of prefer Jo Serlingpa over all your other teachers? And Atisha's answer was, because it was from Jo Serlingpa he really learned the preciousness of kindness. So Atisha, Atisha is so much venerated in Tibet and elsewhere about the value of kindness. And as I was saying, the earlier story, whenever Atisha was not well, he would ask Dromtempa just to touch him. And he said, it is not because Dromtempa knows how to sort of, massage or whatever. It's because Dromtempa was so kind. And I think this story or this account or this event really tells us a lot. In today's world, we don't really pay so much attention to this thing called kindness. Nobody has much time for kindness. In the capitalist society, market-driven society, consumerism, where the culture of consumerism is prevailing, kindness is not really profitable. Kindness is not really marketable. So as you can see in our education, as you can see, everything has become now like what in Chöke we call it Tsongze, which means it's something to be sold. Well, education, all our education system is basically, it has become commodity. It has become it has become a business. Same thing, journalism. It has been, it is supposed to really give us objective information about what is going on in the world. But we all know that journalism practically has become a tool for consumerism or capitalism. And not just, education facilities or journalism or all these secular secular institutions, but even so-called spiritual system, dharma, I dare say, even the spiritual path has now become like a commodity. It is becoming a Zongzhe, it's like to be sold. So it's so driven by market, driven by how much profit and one could make, right? So I think fundamentally we are really not caring about healing a disorder. It's almost like when you have that kind of a capitalist mind, that kind of consumer mind, you almost want to have more people who are sick, because more people there are who is sick, then more you can sell your medicine and more you can sell your service. So already fundamentally that kindness, it's almost, there's so little room for this kind of kindness. And kindness, as the great master Zapaltu Rinpoche said, is the fundamental foundation for all the Buddhist practice, Buddhist behavior, Buddhist applications. We talk about love and compassion, we talk about a bodhicitta, we talk about the right view, right livelihood. All this must basically stand on the foundation of kindness. Having said all this, because as a being that is so much under the wrath of conditions, wrath of circumstances, and probably as much as our life probably have become more easier, even to travel, where we used to take like ages, now you can just travel within few hours. Maybe you can get all kinds of medical informations, medical facilities, so on and so forth. But as I don't need to mention this, but all kinds of ailment, and especially the ailment of mental disorder, seems to be not really diminishing. In fact, the other way around. Yet, I believe we human beings, not just human beings, as a sentient being, we do have empathy. When we are not well, when we are sick, when we are ill, we can use that as an example, as a base, as a reference, so that we can develop some sort of understanding, empathy, and a kindness towards those others who have the same or similar problem. So for the people who are by profession engaged with a health, like health worker, or those whose life is dedicated to help others healing the ailment, I would just say, like Baldwin Atisha said, the kindness is the paramount. But now, what do we mean by kindness? This is where Buddhism may have a different ideas, different definition. This is what Buddha said, Rangi lula pelong la jenla neba majechik. How do you define kindness? We are not really defining or following a definition of kindness that is placed by some higher authority, such as Buddha or God, or some higher authorities on matter of kindness. We can use ourselves. We can use our own body, our own mind, our own emotion as a base, as a reference. If you don't like something, if you don't like pain, if you don't want some sort of unfavorable circumstance or situation towards yourself, this is something that you don't want others to also go through. And this is the most fundamental common sense. So basically, when we talk about kindness in Buddhism, we are talking about non-selfishness. Initially, we are talking about non-selfish, not interpreted, not imposing your view, your value, your goal. That should be the kind of, how should I put it, the sort of the root of the Buddhist practice of kindness. So I want to just, because the 5 questions that I have read, they're really, really good. So I actually want to put more time talking about these questions. So if you don't mind, begin with the first question.
Last Rinpoche, the first question is, the words of Gautama a matter to the health and healthcare professional? That's the first question, Rinpoche.
Okay. Well, if you are talking about the word of the Gautama, as I briefly mentioned earlier, for Buddhism, the real ailment is the ailment of the mind. Because if you don't have a mind, what is body? It's just an inanimate substance. It's nothing. It's like a pebble. It's like a piece of wood. So the real ailment is the ailment of mind. So when we talk about ailment of mind, fundamentally we are talking about not knowing the truth, not knowing the reality, which is labeled as ignorance. And because of not knowing the reality, we then mistake as something to be adopted, something to acquire, something to struggle for. So this kind of mental factor is what we call attachment or a desire. Similarly, because we don't have the actual truth, because we have so much ignorance about the fact of life, we can also, because of that, we have animosity or aversion towards others, situations, or even yourself. And this is what we call anger. So this three, sometimes termed as three poison: desire, anger, and ignorance, are like the sort of the multiplier or the creator or the like the source of all the subsequent emotions, such as doubt, such as jealousy, pride, and so on and so forth. And with that three poison, then leads to all kinds of actions, such as stealing, such as lying, slandering, taking others' life, in other words, killing, and deceiving, and it subsequently then takes us to it leads us to the effect of that action. So we are talking about the emotion, action, and the result of this emotion and the action. And then as you experience this action, we again give birth, or it then creates more emotion, more action, and the more result. And this is how we keep on entangling ourselves. And this is like the fundamental ailment, if you like. And this is how we create disorder in our life. So once you have this kind of disorder mentally, then it gradually creates disorder physically. And not just physically, it creates disorder in society. And it even goes all the way to the nations. And this is how we go through dukkha, or the suffering. Okay.
So the next question, Rinpoche, is end of life care and facing graceful death. The role of Buddhism to balance the dilemma of wanting to do more to not knowing what to do.
There are a lot of things that a person can do, but I think most probably, I'm just guessing, most probably tonight the listeners are Buddhist, and especially those who live in Bhutan. I would say they're consciously or unconsciously connected to Mahayana Buddhism. So what I would say, even though there are so many things that a person can do, generating the bodhicitta is probably the best thing one can do. And that actually, generating the bodhicitta is not for those whose life is coming to an end. I would suggest the generating of the bodhicitta for everyone. And let me explain this a little bit. Generating bodhicitta is really probably, perhaps, the greatest vision one can have. We are not talking about like, we are not talking about like saving people's life. We are not talking about like building hospitals. We are not talking about, giving, like practicing philanthropy, or we are not talking about, donating material stuff or even like information, etc. Bodhicitta is it's a determination, or it's a mind, or it's an intention or a motivation that wishes to awaken not just one or two people, but all sentient beings. And this is actually a very grand vision. And especially, I always advise to people who feels that this is coming to the end stage of their life. I always advise them that actually they should not think that this is coming to an end. In fact, they should tell themselves, now is the time to begin the big project, the project of the bodhicitta, project of awakening all sentient beings. So in other words, you actually end up making yourself a big vision. So for those who are Buddhists, I'm assuming many of you are here are Buddhists. So since you are a Buddhist, we don't believe that this is the life that we have and that's it. And because of that, this life, let's say people who feel that their life is coming to end, their attitude should be like, this is a stepping stone. I'm going to actually plan more. I'm going to work for others, not just healing few ailments, but in fact, I'm going to work for enlightening, awakening all sentient beings. And I think this kind of mental training, this kind of generating the determination, this kind of generating the confidence and the courage is, I would say, is probably the best thing one could do.
Last Rinpoche. Thank you, Ola. The third question is, how do we reach out the concepts of karma, impermanence, interdependence, especially to people who are suffering from irredeemable health conditions?
Now, this is a very big question, and it's a really important question. And especially the concept of karma, I have noticed it's always gets misinterpreted many times, I would say. And this is because karma is a really difficult subject. Karma is really, see, a lot of people think the karma is something like a predestined, situation. The predestined is already, this is your, some people even make comments like, oh, this is your karma, as if you are fixed with that. So, but that is not necessarily true. Karma is really not really a predestined kind of phenomena. But at the same time, karma is also not, free will. The opposite of predestined. Some people think, karma probably is you can do whatever you like, right? So it's like a free will, like you can actually, which is to the certain extent true, but we need to really define this. So, okay, now this is a kind of a difficult question. So for a lot of the people, this may become a little intellectual or academical, but I think since the question is like this, we have no choice, but so you have to bear this a little bit. First, I have to tell you this. Aim of Buddhism, Buddha Dharma, is not collect. It's not like, many people think, oh, Buddhists, what you guys do is to abandon the bad karma and collect good karma. That's what the Buddhists do. That's totally not right. That's a really wrong understanding of Buddha Dharma. In fact, in Buddha Dharma, of course, you don't do the bad things, but you have to also transcend the good karma. This is one thing that Chandrakirti, one of the great Indian Mahayana masters, said. Those who are idiot, they will do bad things and they will go to hell. In the second line, he said, those who are idiot, they will do good things and go to heaven. See, notice they're both idiots. Third line, those who are wise will try to transcend good and bad action and then, reach the liberation. So within this context, I think we really need to understand the karma as almost karma cannot be taught. Karma cannot be taught without teaching what you just cited, dependent arising, right? Therefore, karma cannot be taught without the wisdom of shunyata. Okay. Just, I don't know, maybe this may be easier to understand for you. There's this always a riddle, which came first, chicken or egg? That actually is quite a good riddle as an example to understand karma. In fact, the Buddhists are asking the same question with everything. Today, between you and me, which one came first, listener or the talker? See, everything is a dependent arising. So Buddhists don't believe that there is the original egg or the original chicken, or the Buddhists don't believe the Armageddon of egg or Armageddon of chicken. Buddhists don't really have a firm, Buddhists don't believe in time as the ultimate. Time is relative. So cause, condition, and effects, these are all like kind of a relative, right? So karma is basically a relative. Okay, now coming back to the main question, those who, those whose ailment cannot be, fixed, right? So here we have to think in terms of like, what do we mean by that? It cannot be fixed in this life, in this situation. Yes, but for those who believe in reincarnation, this may be an exhaustion of a karma. This may be a way out of a karma. So there's a many different way of understanding. And you see, even, many times, even, people suffer or people die or people go through a fatal situation, even with a small incident, that which one could easily argue that, oh, that can be easily fixed. But a lot of the times, people go through fatal situations, even with the most ridiculous problem. And so the situation that cannot be fixed is basically, it's a concept. It's how you are defining, right? How you are defining, how you, yeah. So anyway, as I said earlier, karma is not a predestined. It's at the same time, it's also not really a free will. Okay, so one could say like this: there is no such thing as, in one way, there is no such thing as unfixable problem. It's just that you don't have the karma, cause, and the condition to have that situation to fix this, what you call irrecoverable. Okay?
That's Rinpoche. Number 4 is, please help to comment on the synergy of immeasurable loving kindness, karuna, rejoice, and equanimity in health and healthcare system. Basically, I think is talking about Semeji. If you can help comment on Semeji, Rinpoche.
Yes, based on that, this is why I began our conversation today talking about the kindness. We have talked about kindness a bit, kindness as the most fundamental foundation for any kind of act of healing. On top of that, of course, if one could apply the Semeji immeasurable thoughts. Now here you need to pay attention to the word immeasurable. When we talk about immeasurable, we are talking about immeasurable object, immeasurable motivation, immeasurable attitude. Okay, so this is a very, very Buddhist. It's a very Buddhist. Again, we are talking about the kindness at its highest sort of level. So okay, for instance, what is the immeasurable motivation? Usually, whenever we are trying to heal somebody, we already have a fixed idea what is meant by healing and what is the goal. I always give this example, like for instance, if I'm a psychiatrist, I have learned from the book what is the definition of normalcy, or what is being normal. So that's what I have learned. Okay, so here I am as a psychiatrist. I'm trying to supposedly fix somebody who is abnormal. Now I'm looking at him with all the, brainwash that I have received through the books and through my teachers and study system. And I'm already looking at him as this sick, crazy, abnormal person. And that is not immeasurable. There is no humility in there. And you already have a goal in your head. You want to make this person according to what you think is normal, according to what you think as a healthy. And as we all know, many times we, the doctors and probably the lamas like myself, we ended up making a lot of people more unhealthy because we have this goal that we are so attached, because many times we are so goal-oriented. So this is one way to understand when we talk about immeasurable mind. Okay, then when we talk about immeasurable compassion or immeasurable love, we tend to love or have compassion towards, we choose a lot. For instance, like I may be very, I may have it would be more easy for me to have a compassion or a love for some, homeless person in Bihar. But I will not want to have a compassion or love with somebody like Bill Gates. So because I already think, well, he doesn't deserve, he doesn't require, he's rich, he's this, he's that. That's not really immeasurability here. Because from the Buddhist point of view, the homeless person in Bihar or Rwanda or wherever, war-torn, a kid in war-torn countries such as Afghanistan, and Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, they are equally object of love and compassion, because they all have dukkha, they all have their ailment. But this is again, all the 5 questions are very big questions, and I'm trying to really essentialize. We really need to be sitting quite a long time explaining all these things. Anyway, please ask me the next one.
Last Rinpoche. The next question is how to handle compassion fatigue in a way, like how to be unkind to kindness.
Yeah, this is a very, very important question. And this is actually, this is where the Buddhism probably has some of the best answers. I mean, okay, so let's jump right to the top. Let us talk, come with a, let us look at this with a Buddhist view of wisdom, okay? First of all, some of it we have already discussed. I think the compassion fatigue, love, fatigue, kindness fatigue, or in other words, I think Americans call it codependency. You become codependent to your own kindness, your own compassion, and so on and so forth. I think most of this comes from you already have an idea of a goal. You already are fixated with a goal that you are trying to achieve. Obviously, you are going to be fatigued. Obviously, you are going to be disappointed because, you have created a goal which probably is never going to realize. So you ended up becoming a victim of your own, this very limited, narrow-minded, lopsided compassion. So that's how we, suffer. There's a very beautiful conversation between the Buddha and one of his disciples, a bodhisattva. And the bodhisattva said, this bodhisattva, apparently, he went on helping a lot of people and he really got tired, and he came back to Buddha and asked him, I'm so tired, I can't do this bodhicitta stuff. So Buddha's answer was, well, it's like this. If there's a mother who has a child, and she really loves this child, and mother dreams in her dream that the child is swept by a river, she would have no hesitation in jumping in the river and trying to save, however it takes, whatever it takes, however long it takes. That's how a bodhisattva should help. Meaning, when you wake up when she wakes up from the dream, never really, the baby never got drowned. There was no river. It's all a dream. It's an illusion. So here I'm talking about a very, very, sort of highest Buddhist wisdom, because if you understand that everything is just your projection, everything is your illusion. I mean, time is an illusion. Everything is just your projection. Everything is your, what do you call it? Everything is basically relative. if you have that kind of wisdom, then helping the sentient beings, when you help the sentient beings, quantity of the sentient beings, quantity of the patients, let's say you are a doctor, quantity of the patients is not going to really dishearten you. The duration of the healing time, the duration of the process that you have to engage with a patient is not going to tire you, because, as I said, the healer has one, no fixed goal that he or she is so fixated on, or best, even better, is everything's just your projection. But this kind of wisdom is quite probably not that easy to achieve, overnight. One has to sort of get, what do you call it, used to it. So I think that's the fifth question, right?
Yes, La Rinpoche. And
Okay.
finally, La Rinpoche, I think most of the important points are covered by Rinpoche. Finally, how an ideal Buddhist healthcare professional should be.
Well, as I've begun our conversation, I think cherishing the kindness, I think that is fundamental. And I know it is impossible to escape from capitalist values, consumer values, but I think time to time, we really need to remind ourselves that to be a good healer, one really need to be mindful, at the least, with this kind of what do you call it, profit-oriented, so to speak, profit-oriented sort of healing or teaching or education. As I said earlier, I think this is something, even if it doesn't come that easily, it is something that we should discuss often. We should be reminded. And I think even if a healer can't perform, textbook kind of job, if the healer has that kind of kindness, I have no doubt the patient, even those patients who has no more hope to be cured and to be recovered, I have no doubt that they will go through their rest of the life in peace, in harmony, and a lot of joy. And I think this is what a Buddhist, I would say, Buddhist healer should at least, visit this value. Okay.
Bless the Rinpoche. Rinpoche, there are many questions from the audience side. Would you like to attend one or two? I'm pretty sure.
Okay, maybe three.
1 hour.
Give me three questions.
Lastly, Rinpoche, I think from the discourse that Rinpoche made it in the entire time, ignorance being the root cause of all the problems. Now, this person from China, Ding Ding, is asking this question: where does the first ignorance thought come from?
I think the question, where does the first, indicates that the person who's asking the question believes that the time is ultimate. I don't believe time is ultimate. For me, time is relative. So if you really insist on me giving you the first ignorance, I would say it is now.
That's Rinpoche. This is an interesting question coming from Barbara. If all the sicknesses or all the problems is as a result of karma or bad karma, good karma, how do we transcend this karma?
Transcending the karma ultimately has to be done through understanding shunyata, or the emptiness. That's the only way. I know you can transcend bad karma by doing good karma. But then what do we do with the good karma? Because that's also a chain. You know, you can undo and you can unchain with the iron chain, but you also don't want to be chained by a golden chain, right? Ultimately, you need to learn to really understand the shunyata, because that is the biggest healing. As it is stated in the Hat Sutra, that the shunyata is the mantra that heals everything. There are just so many information regarding medicine Buddha. Often the medicine Buddha is depicted as blue color. This is why tonight's conversation is titled as Lapis Lazuli light. I just want to mention a little bit about why blue. The blue, the biggest blue that we have in our human sphere is the sky, blue sky. Okay, so let's talk about sky. Where is sky? Usually we always sort of point it up. And we human beings, we even manage to even deceive ourselves, thinking such as in the middle of sky. You know, when you think about it, when you say in the middle of sky, what do we mean by that? You know, sky is not really above. You know, sky, you see, the sky is an incredible metaphor for Buddhism, because you cannot really say sky is there, because sky is, you know, it's not there. You know, it's sky or the space is not there. But at the same time, it is there. I mean, without the space, how can we even move? But where is space? It doesn't have a specific sort of a physical character. It doesn't have a sound. It doesn't have a taste. It doesn't have a feeling. So space is actually one of the greatest metaphor that is used in the Buddhist texts to define or to exemplify the wisdom of shunyata. So when you have the understanding of the shunyata, which is the sky, I would say, then it heals everything. So this is why medicine Buddha is many times depicted as blue, because the blue representing here the sky blue. Okay, thank you.